Hey everybody, Charles Rather here. Today we're going to organize a bit of what we could call the battle of the visas, right? So what is better, what is faster, fast track, best way to get your green card if you're choosing between an EB-5 or an NIW? Now I understand the target demographics of these two categories is a little different because EB-5 you have to invest 800,000, so you've got to have some wealth behind your name. And so generally that's a little bit of a different client category than an NIW, because the NIW is based more on your profession, your work as a skilled professional or expert in your area of endeavor, and you might not necessarily have 800,000, and that's why you're considering the NIW. But nonetheless, there are certainly cases where clients could go either way, right? And they could maybe do the EB-5. Yeah, you have to freeze up 800,000 for about 5 years, but they could do it. Or they could go the path of the NIW. So today, we're going to go through those two options and see which is the fastest route between the two and what are the pros and cons of each. Now, with the NIW, I would have to say historically, I might even give preference to the NIW to say that's maybe the faster way to go. Because until recently, EB-5 was taking a long time. I mean, it was taking maybe 4 to 5 years due to the problems with COVID, with the suspension of the program for a while back in 2022, 2021. Like I said, COVID and all of those related problems. The EB-5 program was just bogged down and delayed just terribly. And at that time, there weren't those delays with NIW. So I'd have to say, up until maybe about a year or two ago, I might give the preference to NIW. Now, though, I would definitely give my vote for EB-5. And why is that? First of all, time schedules, framing, processing times, and everything like that. So first of all, you have the problems with retrogression for those from very popular countries such as China and India. And you've got retrogression for both NIW and EB-5. So I'm going to put those issues aside because that only concerns people from those particular countries. And in general, I would say, if I'm not wrong, I haven't looked at the charts lately, but I do believe the retrogression in any case is shorter for people on the NIW side, who, Chinese or Indian investors who are looking at NIW as opposed to EB-5, with the exception of the following, and this is also one reason why I really like EB-5. Under the new law, first of all, they've created those carve-outs for particular projects, most popular of which is rural, right? So if you have a project, or you're investing in a project in a rural area, then first of all, the benefit for especially Chinese and Indian investors, maybe Vietnamese as well, is you're not subject to those quotas. You're able to basically go to the front of the line and you're not subject to those long waiting times as you are for those who invested maybe years ago under the old program. That's the first advantage. The second advantage, which applies to everybody, not just Indians and Chinese, is that for rural projects, guys, the processing time is just crazy short. I mean, it's not even close to NIW, and it's not even close really to most other green card programs right now. If you're investing in a rural project, the law says that the government has to expedite the processing. Now, they don't say how fast expedite means, but from our experience, we've seen projects get approved as quickly. I mean, investors in projects get approved as quickly as 4 to 6 weeks last year. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen for you, and chances are that particular project was a bit of an outlier. But it shows that when CIS is motivated, how quickly they can move. But if, on average, if you look at the average rural projects and the processing times for investors, I think you're safely looking at 4 to 6 months. Most conservative estimates, I would say 6 to 12 months. So let's say 6 to 12 months. Waiting time under EB-5. Secondly, if you're using a rural area project, you get the carve-outs for Chinese, Indians, anybody else. So you're not subject to that retrogression. I think it's incredible. Of course, if you're looking at, say, like an EB-1A, yeah, you can do premium processing and you can get an approval in 15 days. But not everybody is an extraordinary, highly skilled individual who can qualify for an EB-1A. So if you're in that class of most of us where you might not have those skills, then yes, EB-5 I think is much more appealing. And why is it more appealing than the NIW? Well, guys, look at where we're at with NIW. I mean, that wait time has just exploded over the last year and a half. You've seen such a large influx of applicants to that category. And I'm not really sure if that's being driven by supply or demand. That I think there's a number of suppliers out there, not even law firms, but just companies that have been promoting the NIW, because for a while that was a more advantageous and a faster way to get your green card. But the problem is they generated so much demand that was limited by the quotas under the system, as well as limited by just the physical capacity of USCIS to process it, that we went from one extreme to the other. And now it's taking, the wait time for NIW is at least 15 months, if not longer, and it's not getting shorter. So even if you get premium processing with NIW for 45 days, you might get your approval in 45 days, but you're going to have to wait maybe up to a year and a half before they then start processing your visa at NVC, or even start looking at your adjustment of status application. So for these reasons, if we go head to head EB-5 and NIW, I'm sorry, folks. I take EB-5 any day. Again, if you don't have $800,000 that you can invest, you might not have a choice, and you might have to go to the route of NIW. And I'm not saying NIW is a bad option, but if we're just looking primarily at speed and ability to get through the process and get an approval, my vote goes out to EB-5. If you disagree, please leave your comments below. If you have any questions as well, leave your comments, or feel free to reach out to us to discuss your particular case to see how we can best help you.